Well, amid the travel chaos caused by strikes and extreme weather, the Civil Aviation Authority has named Luton Airport as the UK's worst for disabled passengers.
Well, the regulator found the airport to be the worst performer after it failed to hit targets for accessibility. Here to tell us more is James Taylor, Director of Strategy at Scope. A very good morning to you and a warm welcome to you. Oh dear, Luton will not be pleased with this. Named and shamed by the Civil Aviation Authority. What specifically did they fall down on?
Well, named and shamed, I think, for the fourth year in a row. Particularly fallen down on the amount of time people are waiting on a plane to disembark, not being able to access support and assistance going around the airport when they arrive. I think it's worth noting that this year the Aviation Authority have listed 6 airports as being very good.
Yeah. 3
years ago, it was 19.
Oh, really?
So a lot of performance has dropped. The summer was really difficult, if we can think back to then, how hard it was to fly. But for disabled passengers, it was even harder. There were stories of people stuck on planes for hours and hours and hours. Unfortunately, one man died because the assistant didn't turn up.
Well, you were talking about the situation 3 years ago. That was pre-pandemic. It's been well documented, hasn't it, the terrible impact of the pandemic on the airlines. Is this just a symptom, really, of an ailing industry? They've got staff shortages, huge problems with baggage handling, and the people who are suffering are those with disabilities?
Yeah, possibly. I think it's also potentially an attitude that disabled passengers are treated less equally and perhaps less of a priority to airports. And we're seeing many disabled people choosing not to fly or go on holiday now because of the experiences they've had in the past.
And in terms of where's a good place, you mentioned there are 3 good places. I mean, often you can't work around this, can you? Because you tend to go to Luton because they offer the cheap, the cheap short hauls to places in Europe. But where is good? And where would you recommend people go to if they have a disability?
I think there are 3 airports around the world that are really good. Miami, Tokyo and Bologna. Those are the 3 best airports
what about from
in
Britain?
the world for accessibility.
Where's the best place to leave from Britain?
From Britain, the CAA said Liverpool and East Midlands are the top 2 who've performed extremely highly throughout the year.
That's really interesting, because my next question was going to be, is it actually the smaller airports like Luton who are struggling the most to provide adequate provision here? Clearly not.
No, I think some of the smaller airports up into the north of the country are much better. It's the bigger ones, Gatwick and Heathrow, who've tended to be poor. They've had some improvement, but the bigger ones tend to be worse in this country.
What are they getting right? I'm really happy to. That's where I'm from, the East Midlands. What are they getting right up there and in Liverpool? What can other airports learn from them?
Well, it's when a disabled person turns up at the airport, assistance is there within 15 to 20 minutes, whereas at Heathrow you might be waiting for an hour or 2 hours. Wow. It's being greeted when you get off the plane. It's being disembarked first rather than having to wait. It's those sorts of small things.
And just to explain, vast majority of people, able-bodied, that terrible phrase, won't necessarily understand the indignity, perhaps, of how it can make you feel. Just to explain to people why it is so important to get this right.
Well, I think it's the choice between making people feel like a second-class citizen or making people feel included. The correspondent, Frank Gardner, tweets often about how long he's stuck on planes for, sometimes 6, 7, 8 hours. Imagine being stuck on a plane, you're the last one there, you don't feel like a priority or a person at all. And that's the sort of feeling that many are reporting.